Elara stood in the cramped, cold kitchen, the silence of the recently finalized divorce papers heavy in the air. Her entire liquid wealth, her future, was a single worn dollar bill clutched so tightly in her hand the paper threatened to tear. That dollar was meant for the last carton of milk her 2-year-old son, Leo, needed. His small, sweet face flashed in her mind, and a lump of panic rose in her throat. She had promised herself she would never let him want for anything. But here they were, broke, alone, and $1 away from an empty fridge. As she turned toward the door, her eyes landed on an old, chipped ceramic bowl on the shelf. Inside, she kept the notes for her grandmother's famous solstice spice blend, a unique, warming mix that everyone who tasted it always begged for. The blend required 5 ingredients, but one, the rare, fragrant Himalayan pink salt, was the foundational flavor. It was also the only ingredient she needed, and the price, ironically, was exactly $1 per small scoop from the local specialty store. This was madness. Spending Leo's last dollar on a risk? Her heart hammered. But the thought of going back to a dead-end job, of perpetually being just enough to survive, filled her with a deeper dread than the milk shortage. She looked at the dollar, then at the bowl. "This isn't just $1 for milk, Leo," she whispered to the empty room, tears blurring her vision. "It's $1 for our future." She walked to the corner store, bought the salt, and returned home. For the milk, she bartered with her kind neighbor, Mrs. Rodriguez, offering to clean her garage in exchange for a few days' worth of fresh dairy. The shame was immense, but the trade-off, a chance at freedom, was worth it. That night, Elara mixed the first batch of Solstice Spice Blend. It was perfect. The next morning, she sold the first 3 jars, packaged in repurposed baby food containers, at a local community market. She made $15. She immediately bought milk, diapers, and enough supplies to mix and sell 5 more jars. The work was brutal. Leo slept in a cot next to the kitchen counter, covered in flour and spice dust, while Elara worked until 3 a.m. filling orders. There were days she cried into the dough, days when she missed payments, and nights she questioned her sanity for sacrificing that first dollar. But the reviews for the Solstice Spice Blend were unstoppable. People called it soul-stirring and the taste of home. It wasn't just a spice, it was comfort, bottled. The turning point came 6 months later. A high-end bakery chain called. They wanted to use the blend in their seasonal bread. Elara had to produce 500 pounds of spice mix in a month. She took out a calculated microloan, rented a small commercial kitchen, and hired 2 retired women from her neighborhood. In 5 years, her company, Elara's Solstice Blends, became a nationally recognized brand, selling specialty foods and kitchenware. Elara, no longer the desperate single mother, was an industry leader. Years later, addressing a stadium of new entrepreneurs, she held up a framed, worn dollar bill. "This," she said, her voice catching, "was my seed capital. It bought the first scoop of salt for my first blend." She paused, looking out at the rapt audience. But the true cost of this company wasn't that dollar. The cost was the sacrifice that dollar represented. It was my willingness to be vulnerable, to ask for help from a neighbor, and to bet my last chance not on survival, but on creation. Her final words touched every heart in the room. The biggest barrier to your dream is not a lack of money. It's a lack of courage. If you have the conviction to trade the last dollar you need for comfort, for the chance at freedom, you already have the empire in your soul. Start where you are. Use what you have. Risk what you must. Your child, your dream, your future self will thank you.